Have a look at Slerf as well quickly. Oh, I have a lot of things to say about Slerf, if anyone's interested. All right, just quickly, let me just have a look at Slerf. Sorry, I was looking at it and I came up with this idea. And I don't know if this idea is going to play out. So let me just... Pepe, yes, Slerf. Raydium. I'm not really bothered about Raydium, but someone did say in my channel... Oh, that was you, Ali Hash. 2 cents on Raydium Dex is the all-time low. Well, I got the all-time low from the reported all-time low, but I'm going to check out 2 cents. You see here, it's reported at 1 point, at here, look, 3.36 cents. And on coin market cap, $3.34. So coin market cap 34 cents. On CoinGecko it says 36 cents. Let me just go to Raydium. Is that it? What the hell? Where am I? There it is. Zoom this out. So on Raydium, look, on Raydium you're going all the way down to here, which is 2 cents. That's the launch price. That's what you're saying. You're saying that's the all-time low. I wouldn't consider that the all-time low. I would consider that the launch price. Okay. I think it's different. When you have a launch price, the launch price and the high from the launch is ignored. And it's only subsequent price action that you consider. Okay, so the launch price isn't considered an all-time low. It's just considered the launch price. Okay. Once the price comes down to make a low, then that would be considered the all-time low. And if you lose the launch price, then obviously you're making a lower low than the launch price. That would be very bearish. But I'm not crazy about your idea. But let me just entertain it for a second. Let me just entertain your idea. This is on Raydium. I can't find that fixed range. There it is. Oh, I've got it there already. Let me just update the volume on Slerf here and see if there's any changes. Anywhere is lower, value area high is lower. Point of control on Raydium is in the highs. Very different on Raydium than on the other exchanges. And personally, I prefer the other exchanges because of the volume. For me, volume is really important. Of course, you have the launch price at 2 cents, which is a very important level. But we're so far from it, I'm not even bothering with that. According to CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. The low is here. You see you've got this pivot after the launch. So let me just get rid of this volume tool here. This volume. You see you've got this pivot here. That's the low. I've taken it to the high here. And is this correct? Well, the way that you know if this is correct is if the fibs are being respected by the price. Yeah. It's hard to tell. So basically from this low to the high, you made the low first and you went to the high. If you, let me just take the data from CoinGecko and use that data instead. And I'm going to use it on Raydium. You see it's slightly higher there. And then use 1.3. And slightly lower there. Okay. Now this is interesting. According to this, when you use the CoinGecko data, the 236 comes perfectly on the value area high. Do you see that? The point of control comes perfectly on the 382. Do you see that? And do you see how when the price came down here on this wick, it came perfectly to the 786? And then you had a reaction here, and now we're back above it. Okay. So I'm seeing some kind of respect on these figures. I'm seeing a little bit of respect on the 50% mark, which isn't a fib, it's just 50% of the range. I'm seeing a little bit of respect in these areas of interest, which are these fib levels from the reported all-time low to the all-time high on CoinGecko. So it makes me think, and this is on Raydium, so it makes me think that this is correct. Now, if I'm going based on your idea, which is 2 cents, let me draw that out. How would you do this? Let's go from 2 cents. Where'd you go to? To the reported all-time high or to the wicks here? Well, let's try the reported one first. Okay. This is from 2 cents. Okay. I mean, it's interesting because the 236 corresponds with that 786. Okay. This is a much higher time frame fib retracement. So this is, you could argue that this is correct too. Yeah. If I go back to my previous chart, there, my previous fib, and if I put a completely new one, let me just do it from here to here. So 0.02 to 1.3. Okay. And you see that the 236, do you see those lines? They line up almost perfectly. Okay. So you could argue, based on that logic, that they're both correct. It's just that the one that you're suggesting is almost irrelevant because look, we're just only coming back to the 236, like, and I've already said in my previous streams, I don't want us to make a new all-time low. As far as I'm concerned, it would be this data here. I wouldn't want us to go lower than this reported all-time low, which is 0.36, because we made an all-time low first and then we made an all-time high. And so all we need to do now on Slerf is make a new all-time high. You've made your low here. You've made your high here. You put in a higher low. Excuse me. And let's go and put in a higher high. Yeah, that's excuse me. That's bullish. Higher low, higher high. That's bullish. That's what you want to do. Yeah. I'm not really wanting to go all the way down. I wouldn't like that. I'm not fond of that. Oh my God, you're writing a lot. Ali Hash, the dev sent half the tokens to liquidity pool. Now I'm supposed to get sent. Yeah, and we all know that. Raydium put 20% back in the LP and it's locked. Yep. So Ali Hash is saying the floor price is consistently increasing and over $6 million has already been added in the past week. That's true. There's no token in treasury. I think this is a really amazing token, just simply because the trading volume, the profit is burned. Yeah, so the more people trade it, the more valuable it becomes. It's a really amazing token, actually. That's where really the value comes from trading. And especially what you said, that a large portion has already been burned, and then there was no pre-release. That was burned too. So you don't have this danger of people dumping on the market when the price comes up. It's just whatever people are accumulating now. I think it's a really good token. So going back to my previous idea, let me go back to a different chart. Now we've kind of, I don't really care about 2 cents. And now we know that 2 cents corresponds nicely with our fib retracement. I should have it here. If I don't, I'm going to have to put it back in. What chart is this? Bybit. Okay, let me put it back in because I've got this, but not the one that I really wanted. So I'll go from there to there. And coordinates. That's correct. 0.36. What was it in CoinGecko? 3693. All right. So we have our fibs. We have 2 fibs at the moment. That one, and then this one, which I've done. Okay, that's just to see the extension, yeah, which it came down to the 1.27. All right, so we can pretty much ignore that now and bring this one back. We're back above the 786. You have the golden pocket there. So we lost the golden pocket. We went down to the 786. We went down. You look at this. We went down to the 886. Okay. Bounce off the 86. Reclaimed the 786. That's actually quite good. And if I do a volume pool, and I'm using Bybit, and a lot of people might be asking me, why am I using Bybit? Because if you go and have a look at the market data, and if you look at the volume, yeah, on spot, you'll see that HTX has the most volume at $120 million in the last 24 hours. And Bybit has 59 million in the last one. So Bybit has the most derivatives volume, and I prefer Bybit. I trust Bybit, and I like to see what the traders are doing. You know, spot, you're getting trading too, but you're also getting people who are just hodling. I prefer to see what the traders are doing. That's what I prefer. So that's kind of why I'm using Bybit, but I do keep an eye on HTX as well to see if there's any kind of divergence. So basically the only 2 charts I'm looking on Slerf at the moment are HTX and Bybit. Okay, And mostly I'll be looking at HTX for volume levels and volume data. So I'm doing the rest of my technical analysis on Bybit. And so here you can see I've got my volume levels marked out. That's really it. And this is HTX. So I'll pull it on HTX to see if there's any change. And you can see there's a little bit of a change. The value area is a little bit higher. The point of control is in the same place and the value area high is a little bit higher. You have this high volume node roughly there. This is very different to Raydium. When you look at Raydium, some people will probably on Raydium, like there's a lot of soul degens on Raydium. And you can see on Raydium, the point of control is actually higher in the range. Yeah. So on Raydium, it's actually relatively speaking bearish in that sense. But I don't really care about Raydium because when I'm looking at, let me have a look at the DEX. There's no data on the DEX, so I can't see Raydium. So I don't know how much volume has been put in on Raydium actually. In that case, let me just have a look at the daily candles. So yesterday on Raydium we had 31 million. 31 million yesterday. On HTX, we had $242 million. You see the comparison? So that's why you have to use HTX and not Raydium to chart. You have to use the one with the most volume. And then, like I said, in terms of levels, I'll be using Bybit. Bybit yesterday we had 142 million. Yeah, so for me, Bybit and HTX are the two charts to look at. I don't think you necessarily need to look at any of the other charts. And I think probably you can just focus on Bybit. Just as long as you have the correct figures for the all-time high and the all-time low, that will make it a lot easier. Okay, so this is back on Bybit. All right, after all of that, I have an idea that something is forming. Okay, so I was looking at this yesterday with David. And we've got these fib levels, which look like they're working. This 886 worked. This 786 is working. It's reacting. The next level up is the golden pocket. You're coming to the back of the 6-6. That's the lower part of the golden pocket. The golden pocket's an area. Then as you go up, you come into the 50% of the range. There is a little bit of respect. You can see. And then higher up into the 382. You can see there's a little bit of respect there too. And then as far as you go, you see the 236, there's respect there too. There. And this, for all intents and purposes, the level was front run because people were just trying to exit. Okay. So this is actually quite a nice fib retracement that you could use if you're looking to find level to level areas of support and resistance. But what I'm seeing is a potential bump and run idea. And I've explained this before on some other tokens. I'm going to explain it again. Bump and run. And this is it. Let me show you. Let me pull it across. Just so people can understand what I'm thinking. I just have to pull the right image. Let me find it first. So many adverts. Find the right image. I want to find it when it's in the lows. Okay. Copy image. So bump and run, the idea is that you're on a trend line. So according to this, you have the original trend line. That's your lead in from that pivot. And you're just coming to bounce according to this. And then you bounce. And then this is called the bump. Okay. So you have the lead in and then you have the bump. And the bump basically you get pushed much further than the original trend line and you form a much steeper trend line, which is what this is. So you form a much steeper trend line. This isn't really a great image. So you form this steeper trend line, and then you break it. And as soon as you break this trend line, you run. That's called the bump and run. Okay. This is not really a great image. So let me find the better one. Copy image. Copy image. This is on Bitcoin. Same idea. You have your lead in, your original trend line, your lead in. Then you get bumped. And so when you bump, it falls much further away from that original trend line and it forms a much steeper trend line. Once you break that, you go back to the original trend line, you flip it into support, and then you run. And the run can be quite fast. It can be quite a fast run when you get this kind of behavior as we flip that original lead-in trend line into support. It can be quite fast when it starts to run. It can also fail. So just because it's happening, it doesn't mean it's going to run. It can also fail. There's always a chance that patterns fail. Just because a pattern is forming doesn't mean that it's going to succeed. And let me just show you the trade idea. So look, I'll show you another chart. And actually I've got the same idea for a bump and run, but in reverse on USDT on a higher time frame, which I have in my previous streams. Yeah, these it's hard to find good data. Good I'll show you again. This is the reverse. Let me get rid of all of this. So this is the other way. Exactly the same idea, but in reverse. You have your original trend. This says bullish, but you can reverse it. You have your original trend. Then you have a bump. So on the bump, you can't see it, but there's probably some kind of godforsaken steep trend line. You lose it, but when you fall under and you backtest the original trend line, the leading trend line, that's the run. Okay. And it can actually move quite fast. That could be it. That could be the reversal. And so this is actually a reversal pattern. And I'm just keeping an eye on it. Now, it doesn't look too bad. Okay. It's not looking too bad. And so the way to know that this is happening is a flip of that trend line. And then that would be your trade. If that was to happen, you have a really nice trading idea, but you have to flip it into support. You have to go above it and back test it for support. Once you've confirmed that, and some kind of back test, then you could probably aim for the highs. All the way up to the lead-in. That would be your target. Where you started the original trend line would be your target. Okay? And it could be quite impulsive because that's a nice breakout, bump and run. So that's the kind of idea I have on Slerf. It's very premature to enter now, because if you enter now, look, I've got an SR flip here, and we've still got the original trend line. You haven't broken it yet, so you can enter now and you're back into resistance. It could still go down. It can always go down. Don't think that just because this could be forming that it is going to happen. You have to wait and see what happens when you get to the line, if you can break it and flip it into support. Okay, it's just an idea I have. We'll be following that, but I think that'll be quite a good setup, and you'll have a really easy invalidation if this happens. Okay, so that's quite interesting. Let me just update. Did I update the volume levels? Let me just have a look. I really need to clean this up now. It's getting a bit too messy. But let me just hide this data a little bit. Do a volume range pull here. Value area low is slightly lower. Value area high is slightly higher. Nothing really, no real change. We have put in a bunch of volume down here. Can you see? See all of that volume? So that's good. And actually, what I would really love to happen is for the value area to expand down to here, and for this area for the point of control to move down. I don't think it's going to happen right now. It may happen if we break this line, like somewhere here. If this was to go down, put in a bit of volume here, and we break it a bit lower down, yeah, then we may get a situation where we're putting in more. Usually the volume is up to here, and you want to get the volume higher than there. That will flip the point of control to the lows. If that happens, if suddenly you see the point of control move to the lows of this overall range, if suddenly you see the value area move down so that the price all of a sudden is within the value area, that's a really bullish signal. If you get a breakout like this and a back test, then you've got a really good entry for a bump and run idea. Okay, that's something to bear in mind. And your target, your final target of this kind of trade idea would be the lead in, the top of the lead in, which is at the top there. That, depending on the invalidation, you're looking at like a 1 to 11 risk to reward on that trade. All right, that's Slerf. I hope that helps. Otherwise, I mean, I have a little spot position. I'm looking to hodl that actually. I'm not really looking to trade this at the moment, but I mean, if this setup comes up, if I see this, I'll take this trade. Yeah, I'll be looking to take this trade. That's not a bad trade. The other thing you could always do is another swing failure of the lows. It's always easy to take those SFPs if you see a reaction. Okay, let's go back to Aero. I have no idea what this is, so I'm just going to quickly have a look.